Alright, well I thought we'd do a little video tonight about conditional formatting in Excel. And I saw a video yesterday that made me laugh pretty hard. A guy named Matt Parker on YouTube. You should look him up if you want everyone to have some fun laughing about spreadsheets and math and computers in general and math in general. He's pretty funny. He's got a great sense of humor. But anyway, he was showing this in this video, and it made me think, well, I do this once in a while. Maybe I'll show some people how to do this too for my videos. It's funny, one of the bosses that I have worked for in the last 19 years, there's been 7 head principals, and one of those 7 called me down to their office a few years ago and said to me, "Hey, can you fix this blank spreadsheet? It's not working." And I said, "Okay, what's wrong with it?" And the person said, "This number is too big." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll bite. How do you know it's too big?" "'Cause it's red. See, my significant other made this fancy," I'm air quoting in the background. I can't make my webcam work today for some reason, but I'm air quoting the heck out of this fancy spreadsheet, and this number's too big. And I said, "Well, how's it too big?" "Well," this person says, "well, because it's red." And I went, "Oh, for crying out loud." So what had happened was this person's significant other had made this quote-unquote fancy spreadsheet for them. And what it was, it was color-coded so that if it was green, it was good, and red's bad, obviously. And so I said, "Well, I can't see what you're doing. Scoot over, let me drive." So I sat down and I clicked on this cell, and as you can see, this cell is just dividing these two. And that's when I noticed what this person was doing. It's the total number of students enrolled in geometry and algebra 1 and whatnot. It's the number of sections of each of those classes we're offering. And this is just dividing those two out. And I went, "Oh, for crying out loud." So I put a 5 right here. And wow, it's green. And this person said to me, "How did you do that?" And I said, "I just added another section." To which the person replied, "Huh. So that makes it a smaller answer?" And I went, yeah, that's kind of how division works. So we've had people over the years, like I said, 7 head principals in the last 19 years. I've seen some pretty weird stuff. One told us that every person in the state, every kid in the state, should be able to test above the state average. And I said to him, "Well, did you mean, like last year's state average?" He goes, and this person got really upset. "No, I said what I meant. Every person should be able to test above the state average," to which I just shook my head. I said, "Dude, you were a PE teacher. You should get at least the concept of averages, for crying out loud." But, well, whatever. So what I've done here is I've just gone in, and what I do is you highlight these guys, and you go to conditional formatting here, and you can put in different rules. So, for instance, I did mine was a greater than rule. So I just put in, so if it was greater than 30, I'm going to do light red with dark red fill, but I can do whatever I want. And then if I'm going to do, I did less than 30, I'm going to do green. So you just go in here and just go less than. But you can also do between. So if you want to do between 22 and 26 maybe. Okay, cool. So between 22 and 26, that's the only one that falls in between there. That's the one I want to be red. Okay, and you can do some pretty cool things with this. Now, something I use for my calculus 4 class, vector calculus class, is if these up here are my x values across the top, I'll highlight them so you can tell who they are. And then these are maybe my y values coming along the side over here. And again, I'll highlight them some other color. I don't know. Well, it's not exactly what I wanted to do, but it'll play for now. But the idea is those are my x's and my y's. And so I've made an equation that says something like this. It's 2 times y times x minus 3 times x, for instance. And I've just copied that across. And so over here, for instance, it's using this for its y value and that for its x value. And down here, similar. But what's kind of cool is we can actually come through here and we can actually color code that. And so a cool way to do it with conditional formatting is to come through, and if you just come down to color scales, it'll auto scale it for you in a fashion that makes sense. And so what they've done is they've chosen the highest scores to be green and the lowest scores to be red. Now, there's no real reason for that. I could have chosen anything else. I can go through and color code them in a different fashion. I can painstakingly, if I wanted to, put in between rules. So between -70 and -50, I could color it kind of a magenta or whatever makes you happier. Okay. But I think these color ones are pretty cool. And again, there's lots of different ones you can choose from. I like this one. It's kind of a cool. It's a gradation of reds. Here, you know, red and blues. It's kind of just cool ways of doing it. All greens. Ooh, dark greens is the highest value here. The dark greens the lowest value. Just different cool things you can do with those. And then you can come up here and change them all around. Okay, it's something that I don't think a lot of people mess with. I don't think enough people mess with it, to be honest with you. I think it's something that it's a pretty cool way to handle a spreadsheet. Now, pause for just a second. So one of the other things I really enjoy besides doing math, of course, and some farming stuff when I get a chance is messing around with engines and things. And this is just one I went online and found. It's a fuel map for a fuel injection system, and that's exactly what this color-coded spreadsheet is doing. Okay, it's the idea of this picture over here has gone through and where it is. Again, this is it's air to fuel ratio. So you have less air, more fuel. This is rich, so we're good to go here. And these guys up here there's lots more air, not enough fuel. These guys are lean up here, and red's a problem for us, okay? And then, of course, 14.7 to 1 is stoic. That's really cool. That's kind of optimal in this region. So that's kind of optimal. And these guys down in here are richer than we maybe would like, all right? But it's, again, protecting our car. And then, so when you're at high load and high RPMs, you really want to go pig rich to keep that thing safe. Keep, you know, what they say, fat and happy. Here's, you know, at low load but high RPMs. Sometimes you're going to worry about that. Obviously, as you're cruising down the highway with low RPM, with, you know, decent cruising speed RPMs, but low load on the engine, you're going to go a little leaner. That's where you're going to get your better fuel mileage, but not too much, too lean. Otherwise, you could hurt yourself. So, but if you're familiar with those at all, that's kind of a cool way to do it. All I did was just Google some fuel maps. There's about 100 million of them out here. You could actually find one probably for your own car, pickup, motorcycle, whatever you like to have. Another way to do this, of course, is to actually look at, this is an actual fuel map, and you can actually see again, but they can actually graph them in 3D as well, which we'll look at the 3D graphs later on when it comes to these guys. But that's kind of a cool way to do it. Again, over here, what we could look at is this would be a high point on the plane. This would be a low point, and these would be lower points too. And it would kind of then kind of circle around and up the hill this direction. We'll actually look at some graphing that way. So you could think of these X's and Y's, and then of course these are actual Z values. So we'll look at some graphs later on with them. But for today, I just want to look at conditional formatting a little bit. This is something that literally you could spend. You could spend a lot of time learning conditional formatting. It's one of those things that just click on this button and have some fun in here screwing around. That is the only way a person can really learn this stuff, in my opinion. When you come in here and you start messing around with stuff and pushing these buttons and going, I wonder what that does. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Hey, they're positives. Hey, they're negatives. That's weird. So it's things like that that I think are kind of fun, where a person gets to actually learn the material better. You know, these things annoy me when you put all this other stuff in here. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird. I will say this is kind of cool for my Calc 4 class. These guys are kind of neat because it actually shows which direction is the fastest way that it's growing from there. It's almost, but not quite, the idea of a vector or a slope field. So it's kind of a cool deal. But a lot of things that you can see just for the average, what do we call it, recreational user, so to speak. Okay? Again, if it were me, and again, if you're bored and you're like, you know, sometime I'm going to go on YouTube. The guy's name is Matt Parker, and he is, just Google him, and then you do math comedian, that's who it actually is. If you want to watch a cool thing, he does a pretty cool one recently on spreadsheets. His whole stand-up routine is about spreadsheets and their recreational use, and I think he's pretty hilarious, so give him a look. All right, bye.